Welcome to the Supplement Engineer Podcast. My name is Robert Chinetsky. Today we are joined by our first three-peat champion on the podcast, Mr. Justin Hall, the founder of Supplement Snoop. What is going on, my man?
What's up, brother? Yeah, happy to be the first to three. But you know, right? Because I told you, I was like, hey, man, if you get up and you want to talk, like, just hit me up. And we got plenty of stuff to talk about, so we can always drop a podcast just in the middle of the day, whatever, first thing in the morning. You know, you can hit me up and we'll talk.
Fantastic. So yeah, for the listeners out there, what I'm thinking about doing with the podcast, obviously we're going to continue doing interviews with prominent figures both in the supplement industry and in the fitness industry. I've got 2 more interviews lined up this week that I'm going to do, but I'd also like to start doing more Q&A style things, and I think Justin is one of the most knowledgeable guys in the industry. He fields a ton of questions on social media for everything that he has to do. So I think it would be good for you and me to bounce ideas off, and because we get inundated with questions each day. So if we can do these once every other week, once every 3 weeks or something like that, and we can also give our thoughts on what some of the latest product releases are that haven't actually hit the thing yet, or that haven't hit the market, but we see the formulas and we can say, yeah, we like this, or what the hell is this company doing? I wouldn't sell my dog to use that supplement. So it's kind of it's those things. So yeah, we're gonna play around with this format and see how everybody digs it.
No, I think it's a great idea because I could probably go on a long story about this. I'll try to keep it short, but you know the struggle, right? When you're trying to create content all the time, and it's like you don't know whether people really. It's like, man, I just wrote this. It took me 6 hours to write an article about whatever ingredient, and nobody cares, right? Yeah. You're like, that was a huge waste of time. So, as we were sort of trying to develop certain ideas with creating content with Supplement Snoop, I started doing the daily Q&As on the Instagram just because. And that changed everything because people then are creating the content for you.
Right.
So you don't have to sit there and stress out and freak out or it's to be perfectly honest, it gets tedious where you're just like, okay, I've written this one before and I'm writing about this one, and it's when you get sort of fresh perspective, and then you also get a little window into what people are actually reading, because what we read and what a lot of people are reading it into are totally different.
Yeah.
People ask me about brands all the time, and I'm like, I have no idea. I've never heard of that brand, but it's amazing, the corners of the internet that a lot of people go to that we never see.
Right.
It's always shocking to me sometimes.
Yeah, it's a serious brain drain, and I love the fact that you brought up people are creating the content for us because, I do some writing for myself on my own site, but I also do a lot of writing for a lot of the other brands and consulting things and all that in the industry. And by the end of the day, my brain is tapped. I can't think of anything. I'm not motivated to write anything for myself. And so I guess the blog section on the Supplement Engineer site is falling behind where I'm writing for all of the other outlets in the industry. And at the end of the day, my brain's just said, I'm done, dude. You've written about citrulline malate 16 different ways. I can't talk about it anymore.
For sure, man. And that's, like I said, that's the thing too, is you're racking your brain, and then you don't know whether it's really landing with anyone or not, whether they're actually, Brady brought up a good point to me the other day. He goes, it's like one of those things where if people aren't necessarily asking for it and you're like, well, hey, I wrote this article for you, and people are like, well, I didn't want that. So, and you're like, well, okay, I guess. So it's just right. It's just way easier when people just sort of, provide opportunities for content. But then it's also a really good learning experience for me too. It's like you study certain things, but then when people bring up certain questions, you're like, then you end up going to research. So it keeps me fresh, because sometimes it's hard to motivate yourself to always just want to. There's so much that you could look at on a day-to-day basis. So it's to streamline that in any way, shape, or form is just it has been a lifesaver for us. For sure.
What are some of the common questions that you get asked that you feel that, we'll start off, we're going to start with this. What are some of the questions that you get asked that almost seem as if it's a duh kind of thing, and people should know this, or a basic Google function search could yield what they're looking for?
Well, so that's a good question. I know, and there'll be people that watch all my stories that'll listen to this podcast, and I guarantee they already know what I'm going to say, right? Because it turns into kind of a running joke. But I would say the ones that actually are really kind of are a little bit frustrating are when, because there's another question in my head, but it doesn't really tie into what you said. But the questions where people go, I just had one this morning. He goes, compare this product to this product, like
Mm-hmm.
so and so versus so and so. Like the other day, I got one, NutriBio Supercarb versus Demo Day, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, right. I'm like, just look at the label. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even have to understand the ingredients at that point. Supercarb is one ingredient basically and some electrolytes. Demo Day is like a whole bunch of different products like sort of put into one. It's like,
Right.
how do you want me to compare those? Like, what is it I
Mm-hmm.
never know what to say to those. It's like, it's the versus questions that you're just like, oh man. And it's because it's usually like two products that are nowhere near alike.
Yeah, I think those are the same kind of people that are looking for the what is the best blank answer, and those are questions that
My other one.
lack nuance and lack context, and they want the simple quick fix answer, and just for I mean, Sandy understands somewhat some of what the supplements and the ingredients that we deal with use, and she asked me, she says, does creatine build muscle? And I said, no, the answer is more nuanced than that. And she says, Robert, just tell me yes or no. Does it build muscle? Is it worth me taking? I thought, oh, no, it's not that simple.
Right. Yes. There's very rarely is there like the straightforward answer.
Yeah.
But I get right. It's a long running joke on our Q&A and a couple of friends of mine that sort of do it too. Is people always ask what's the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing. You're like, and it's like, what's the best for what? For who? For when? For why?
Exactly.
People just want that one answer. But if you think about it too, if you Google that, there is a million articles, search engine optimized for, oh, what's the best pre-workout? And then some asshole will list off, their top 10 products. It's like, dude, that's meaningless. Like, it's totally meaningless. But people just are used to that. Ask a question, get an answer, and move on with your day. But it's like supplements don't work that way. It's very nuanced, like you said.
And that brings me up another issue, a talk I was having with Sandy that I said that the age of information, it's great in that we have access to so many pieces of information and so many sources are readily available.
Mm-hmm.
But when you try to search for something nowadays, there's no guarantee you're getting something that's actually backed up by science. It's just like you said, everything is SEO optimized to where the top 10 searches on Google could be complete and utter bullshit.
Right.
If they are targeted right and they've got the right SEO firm banking all the keywords and doing the hyperlinks and backlinks and all this shit, to where we have more information than ever, but extracting the useful bits is more difficult than ever, I find, too.
Yeah, and I don't know because I say that all the time. I was like, we've never had more information at our disposal, but yet we don't really learn anything because we know we can go somewhere. It's like I use like the GPS analogy sometimes. I was like, how often have you like say you drive to a place like once a month, right?
Yeah.
For a year, and you follow your GPS and you go there, but you still have no idea how to get there,
Right.
because you just know that the GPS will tell you. When it's like, what if the GPS is gone? Like, you just drive around like in circles, you know what I mean? But it's like, there's so much, everything's so easy for us. But then, exactly like what you said, people will say to me, well, I'll just Google, like, why would I pay for, say, the app when I can just Google it? I was like, well, good luck. Like, go ahead. Like, enjoy Google trying to find unbiased information about ingredients. I'm like, go ahead. Like, enjoy that ride. And then, so in a couple hours, when you haven't figured out anything, just come back and we'll talk.
That's a good answer.
You're right. You're 100% right. With there's just so much out there but we don't learn anything because we don't take the time to let it set in. Everything's so superficial at this point, and supplements just don't work that way. Supplements are a very intimate, very personal thing that you have to learn how they fit in with your lifestyle specifically. Your needs. It's like, I can't tell you. People always want to know what I take. And I'm like, don't even worry about what I take. Like, I've figured out what I need. Now you have to figure out what you need.
Yeah. And another thing to go along with the fact that we're not learning everything, I think we're in a constantly distracted state. So we'll be watching TV while we're scanning emails on our phone, while we've got our something else, text open up on an iPad next to us, and we're not really focusing on everything, but we're being inundated by all these streams of information. And at the end of the day, 12, 16 hours has gone by and you feel like you haven't done anything, but your brain is completely wiped out for whatever reason. And it's because you've never just sat down and focused on a singular thing.
Oh yeah, well we could do a really long podcast just on this subject. Well, like, because I hear people all the time, they're just like, well, I'm busy. It's like, you're not busy. You're inefficient as hell. Like and the thing about supplements too, and especially health fitness supplements, it's a personal journey, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to trial and error yourself. But any downtime people ever get, they don't spend any time internally. They just go to some other distraction. And at the end of the day, exactly like what you said, you were super quote unquote busy, but you didn't do anything. Like, you did nothing to benefit yourself. You scrolled through a bunch of other people's content and, oh yeah, man, I get going on this. Yeah. I'll slow down right there. Yeah.
That's why it's good on the weekends. I make sure, like, we go out, because we've got a 2-year-old, and so she wakes up 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. We pick her up, we'll go eat breakfast, and then we're at the park. And to where I leave my phone at home for that whole day, just so I can get away from stuff as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing when you do that, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, this is different. Like, I just went all day. Like, sometimes I'll do that. I'm pretty active on Instagram.
Yeah.
But there's just times, where I just put my phone away. I never take my phone in the gym. That's like, I never, ever, ever, ever do it. And you see these people, and they talk about, they'll ask me for Justin. I'll tell you a story. They had a person at the gym that knows what I do, and he's like, hey man, is there anything like, for like focus and things like that? And I started laughing because I was like, you want my honest answer? He's like, yeah, man, of course. I was like, stop looking at your phone as soon as you're done with your set.
Yeah. Because
every time you do a couple reps and phone. I'm like, that's like the worst thing in the world for your focus, dude.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, come on. I was like, okay, you can just go. And I was like, here, go spend $50 on this supplement. I was like, that's free.
Yeah.
Like, so,
or if they want to use that as a timer, just put it on airplane mode and turn off Wi-Fi so you don't have anything. I mean, all you can see is the clock and the time, and that's it. And so I
think like some of the, especially, if you have business ideas or, you and content production, things like that, sometimes, you're at the gym and you're working out and everything's firing, your brain's going and your blood flow is good. It's like, that's when you can come up with some of the best ideas.
Right.
Or like things just in life in general, like, because you're just sort of optimized at the time, everything's sort of working properly. And it's like to not use that, say the time in between sets, you're thinking about your next set, you're thinking about the last set. To not use that is just crazy to me. It's like, that's like the optimal time to use to be productive and to be thinking about things. And people just would rather, they can't just stop for 2 seconds. You just gotta be looking at somebody else's crap. This doesn't help you at all.
It's like a distraction.
Right. I love it, man.
Have you ever gotten any requests? Could you do supplement reviews and you'll give your feedback on products? Have you gotten any? We got this last week on one of the videos we uploaded saying, hey, can you guys film some of your workout footage and give us your immediate feedback during the workout and after the workout? And then, at the end, you can give your final wrap-up thoughts. And I thought, okay, I'm not averse to doing it. Obviously, I've been in camera for several years now doing product reviews. I don't understand people wanting to see me work out. I'm not a fitness model or anything like that, but it's. Have you gotten that too?
People are fascinated by it.
Yeah.
They really like. I don't ever do like things from the gym. Maybe like once every sometimes I'll just do it just so that people know I go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like I'll take like a picture or I'll show like a workout or something like that, just as some sort of validation. But dude, people are obsessed with watching that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like when I do reviews and things like that now, I'll do like a quick review for like our paying subscribers, because people don't appreciate like free content enough anyway. And then when what you're talking about, what people are asking you to do, that is a lot of work.
Yeah.
That is a ton of effort and editing and time. And honestly, like I'm at the point, like maybe I've just been hanging around pretty, enough where I'm like, I'm not doing that for free. Like that is so much work. That my time and my energy like I just don't think people appreciate how much goes into it.
Yeah, and I would agree. And Steve Shaw over at Tiger Fitness has told me much the same thing. He's kind of like Pretty Is to You, kind of gives you little nuggets of gold for business stuff like that. He's done that for me over the years, and it's he said everything. What is your time worth to you? If you don't value it, nobody else will.
Right, and people, right? It's just this right, that balance of people expect everything for free, and then they don't really do much with it. So it's like, how do you? I get it, man. It's a constant struggle. It's a constant learning process, evolving and things like that. But yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of freaking effort, man.
It is,
So
yeah.
like, no, I can't. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'll go film Sandy doing a set of pull-ups. She's better looking than me anyway. We'll do that. We'll get the girl footage up on there, and we can do
Right.
that. Get her doing some RDLs or kettlebell swings or something like that.
Right. No, that's true. But I do. I think most people know because I talk about it a lot on my platform. I was like, I don't film. I don't take my stuff to the gym, so I don't get that many requests like as far as that goes. But when I do post workout content, like people go crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just not my thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
One of the questions I get a lot, and I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. Do you feel the need to cycle pre-workouts or cycle on and off pre-workout or anything like that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that ties into something like I was going to bring up to you too. So it could probably coincide with people. They get so into stimulants and things like that, and they're like, "Well, what do I do about?" That's I do cycle on and off pre-workouts just because what I noticed, if I'm taking them too much, it just really limits what I can actually take that has the right effect. You know what I mean? Where, like, we were having this discussion the other day with someone that's very just really pushing the stimulant thing like way too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And after I tried like the Chemex pre-workout.
Yeah. Well, you were talking with somebody that was a heavy stim user. Are you talking about a brand or a consumer?
A consumer.
A consumer. Okay.
Yep. So when I remember I used a bunch of really strong pre-workouts like right in a row, and then I used the Chemex one. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
Like, what's the next step? Like, meth? You know what I mean? So it's like, so what I did was I made sure that I dial it back because if there was pre-workouts that used to give me a great effect,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And then if I were to take them, say, after that, I wouldn't feel anything. And that's not fair to a brand that I'm trying to give them feedback about their product, but it's
Right.
also just not a smart move for me, like
Mm-hmm.
in particular. It's like but that's one of those nuances that sort of comes into what we talk about. It's like everyone is different with, sometimes like metabolizing caffeine and being used to stims that's good liver function.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good, healthy response that you're not jittery and stuff like that from caffeine, but I try to mix in like the non-stims at least a couple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just try to really pay attention. If I take a similar pre-workout and I'm just not getting that same effect, then I know it's time to back it down. So yeah, I definitely do cycle pre-workouts.
Yeah. On those, when you're cycling off the pre-workouts, do you also completely eliminate caffeine? So do you don't have coffee, tea, or anything like that, or do you still have a little bit of caffeine?
I love I know a lot of people that do like the 1 week stim breaks, no caffeine. No,
Yeah.
I don't do that. No, I like having coffee. I'll maybe have coffee like 5 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, but I never go for like long. But that's kind of part of it too. I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
I've just noticed if I just adjust, but that's also why I very rarely will use like a fat burner.
Yeah.
Unless it's stim free because that's just too much caffeine, or like Skywalk, for instance, some of these nootropics that have 400 milligrams of caffeine, I just don't use them.
Yeah, I don't see the need for that much caffeine, even in a nootropic, especially
Right.
because you have all of the other things that are potentiating the effects of caffeine and enhancing all the other neurochemicals in the brain. You don't need to get super jacked up on caffeine. That's why any of the ones that I've designed or reviewed or given my feedback on, I like 200, maybe 225 if it's split between a couple of caffeine sources. But if you're going with anhydrous, man, just keep it to like 150 to 200, and I'm good. I don't need much more than that.
Like some of those nootropics that were coming out, and it's like, oh, it's got DMHA in it. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like what? Just keep that where it belongs. Like, and that's the other thing too is you get anytime you use like caffeine and things like that, or if you put caffeine and alpha yohimbine in a pre-workout,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people that will go, you just feel that. So
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I love that thing. So it's like when you, and I know like you appreciate it too. It's like you can make a nootropic with a couple ingredients, and but there's no creativity. There's nothing really happening below the surface. You just
Right.
have more energy.
Yeah. The way I responded to the guy that asked me that question, or the few people that have it, I said if it is just a caffeine pre-workout, I don't know if I would feel the need to cycle off of it. Just
Yep.
cycle pre-workouts in general, because you're going to get caffeine most likely either from an energy drink or or coffee or tea or a soda or something. You're probably going
Hmm.
to have caffeine, and there's been enough longitudinal research on caffeine to show that habitual consumption of it is safe. So that's
Yep.
fine. If all of you're using is something like pre-caged or mega pre-red or any other pre-workout that just has caffeine by itself as a stimulant, then yeah,
Hmm.
sure, you could probably use that. But if you find yourself continually having to single scoop, double scoop, triple scoop, and doing all of that more and more,
Right.
well then yeah, you've got a habituation and a tolerance buildup, and you need to cycle off caffeine just so you're not cramming a gram right before you go work out just to feel a modest little bump in energy.
Right, and yeah, it's 100% true. And what I've noticed too is especially like the more experience you get, like so basically, if you've been training and taking supplements and stuff for a long time, like
Mm-hmm.
your body, right, adaptation is what it's trying to do the whole time. So it's like I've just noticed as I go farther along, I can use say a pre-workout the first time and you get one, but your body gets used to things so quickly because
Yes.
that's what you've been training it to do for how long. So it's
Right.
like that's why I think sometimes where I'm like just as preventative, I'll switch off. But I agree, caffeine, I'll take caffeine every day, no problem. But
Yeah.
right, it just depends on how quickly your body adapts to it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, if you're really experienced at the training, you probably adapt pretty freaking quick. So
Yeah,
it's a
and I've
good.
noticed with the DMHA pre's especially, assuming they have DMHA in them at all, and it's not the 1,4-DMAA, and that's a whole other story.
Right.
um, but I find that if I use those any more than like 2 or 3 times a week, that euphoria or that like tunnel vision aspect that DMHA and all the amphetamine-esque
Mm-hmm.
ingredients give you is gone real quick.
Gone. Yep. I'm the same way. If I tell people like if they send me a DMHA pre-workout anymore, I'm like once a week
Yeah.
down to that point where maybe twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, if I, right, because I'm like, well, I'm not getting any of and then these other people are like, oh, I get this euphoric feeling. I'm like, I don't get
Yeah.
that. But it's probably, like I said, it's a good thing in a way that your body is adapting to it because that's its job. But at the same time, that's where it gets dangerous. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know people that if the full dose is one scoop, that's what I'm taking. I'm not
Right.
going two. You know what I mean? And you see people do two. I saw one person they told me before that they were like taking, was it Mega Pre Black that's half in one scoop?
Yeah, they
Because they
did
were
the 40-20 thing.
okay, so they were taking 3 scoops of Mega Pre Black.
And that was 375 caffeine for 2 full scoop servings. So that's what, 525, something like that.
Well, they were taking like whatever 3 servings of it was.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm like, that's insane. Like that's you have to stop. Like you have to.
Yeah.
But we had a question about like resetting your central nervous system and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. I think people go, oh, I'll take an adrenal support supplement or a central nervous system support supplement, and I'm
Yeah.
like, man,
This
this
is such a scam. It's snake oil, man. It really is.
it's just time. You just have to give it time, man. You have to give your body a break, but people don't
Yeah.
want to do it.
No. And I think something like tyrosine might be helpful in that instance when you're trying to cycle off caffeine. Like if you're trying to create a stack that'll give you a little boost in energy without it having to come from a stimulant like caffeine, you could do something like a tyrosine Alcar stack with maybe some adaptogens like rhodiola in there, since that kind of helps alleviate mental fatigue and physical fatigue. So I think a simple stack of that would be good if you're trying to cycle off caffeine, or something like teocrine, since it mimics the effects of caffeine but in a slightly
Mhm.
softer modulation of the adenosine receptor. I think that'd be good.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, and then at some point, depending on the person that's asking me, like, you go, now, am I helping you by telling you like something like what you're saying? That's where like the consulting thing, like we were talking about, it's like if you, it's why it's hard to give advice, over the internet to someone you don't know, because like this person might really just need to stop.
Yeah.
And or it could be helpful for them if I do something like that, like, okay, some tyrosine, some tea cream might actually help you, but knowing the person, asking also really helps, because it's like, that's why when you see these stock answers and supplements, it kind of makes me cringe a little bit, because it's like, man, you really got to know more to the story. It's like this person might have just a massive like addiction problem, and you need to actually go get some professional help. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a real thing, and then you get people turning to other products to help with that, and next thing you know, it's just a giant spider's web. It's pretty crazy, man. And I see it happen constantly, so I'm just sort of hyper cognizant of not pushing those boundaries, because then you're not doing anybody any good.
Yeah, I would agree. What are some of the other questions that you tend to get on a regular basis?
I get what's the best all the time. I should say, like, most people that have followed me for a while know how I answer.
Yeah.
They're just like, there is no best, Usually what happens is they'll start following me, and their first question will be, what's the best pre-workout, or what's the best protein? Once I explain to them, they usually get it. They're like, they just never had anybody tell them that before, because it's always, if I ask you what's the best pre-workout, whatever company you're affiliated with, or whatever pre-workout you might like the best, I'll just say, there you go.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't work that way. I mean, it same as I do. So besides the best, I get some random questions, man. I get some off the wall stuff. It's usually the what's the best, and then the compare two products kind of things. Those are a lot of like the really common ones that I get. But then I got one today that was kind of cool about supplements and altering DNA. Which is kind of interesting. I was like, so we actually I was like, that's not really my area of expertise. I was like, but the specific question was, do I think that supplements can alter DNA?
I think so, because they've shown that whatever that branch of genetics is it epigenetics? Is that what it is? That whatever our interactions with our environment are, it doesn't modify the actual code itself, but it modifies the way that those genes express themselves. So in that instance, then I would think that since supplements are something external that we're introducing into the system, that it's going to affect the way that those genes express themselves in some way, shape, or form. I would say that it affects our genetics in that way. Yeah.
Yep, that's kind of what I was saying. I said, if stress can alter your DNA, or if exercise can alter it, then especially the more we see supplements that are designed to mimic certain body processes and things like that, it's like, well, that was kind of a cool question. Every now and then I get some questions that I'm like, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Or leads to like there was another one about taking stimulants. Is it better to just work out without stimulants? Because something about, listening to your body and progress and things like that versus stimulants versus non-stimulants as pre-workouts. And I was like, well, that we could talk about for probably a week. So it's hard to do on your Instagram stories.
Right. That's an interesting one, because I've heard conflicting opinions on it, because obviously caffeine is something good in that it can give you the energy to work out, and it can help blunt fatigue and the feelings of pain and stuff like that. So in that way, it can help you perform better. But at the same time, if you're getting too jacked up on stimulants, is it masking pain and potentially setting you up for an injury, to where maybe if you didn't take caffeine, your knee would be bothering you a little bit more, and there you wouldn't be pushing as hard in your squats. But if you take 400 milligrams of caffeine right before you go crush leg day, you keep squatting, and eventually you end up stressing the joint more than it could, and it sets you back 6 weeks. So I think that comes down to being a smart lifter and somebody that knows their body well enough to say, okay, I've got maybe some stimulants in me. I know how hard I can push without risking injury.
Yep.
So I think that boils down to your level of experience, both with supplement usage and your own training history, how hard you can push your body before it breaks.
100%. And I think that's what's funny about no matter what the question I get, I swear, like people, um, I know some people get frustrated with me
Mhm.
because almost all the time my answer is, well, it depends.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I was like, but, and then I try to explain to people, I was like, look, especially when it comes to supplements, even ones that have, say, a lot of scientific backing or have some, a lot of it is not necessarily, say, in people that are training young, healthy adults. I was like, this
Mhm.
is a lot of times in people in some sort of health decline or things like that. So it's like we have to make these small leaps, sometimes big leaps, just based on experience and
Mhm.
maybe a little bit of hypothesizing. So it's like that's why it's just this fascinating. And then everybody's different, right? Everybody's like they were finding going back to the DNA question. I remember reading. Oh, they studied. There was like 600 different people, and what they found was, they're like, well, it does alter, some expression, but it kind of depends on the person. So it's like, well, right, so when people ask me questions, like they want a specific answer, and I'm like, I
Depends.
can't tell you that until you tell me more information. So that's a lot of questions that I normally end up getting. People will just ask me a straightforward question about a formula, like a
Mhm.
specific formula, like what do you think about so and so product from so and so brand, and then we'll have a conversation about it.
Mhm. Interesting. Yeah, I think I need to start doing more of the Instagram Q&As or like YouTube live ones or something because it's the amount of questions or the diversity of questions that you get. I think it's fascinating to glean more insight into what the average consumer, because
Exactly.
you and I operate in a certain niche where we tend to deal with people that are very knowledgeable about the supplements. But just yesterday we were hanging out at a local gastropub with a couple of friends of ours, and they know what I do, and so I was getting a few questions like, well, what do you think about the keto diet? And oh God, please don't ever. That's one of the worst
Please don't
questions you can
ask me
ask me.
questions.
Yeah, that's one of the worst things you could ask me.
Yeah.
Um, and then because there's so many little layers that you got to give with all of these questions, and then they'll ask, well, what about what kind of workout should I be doing? Should I be doing an endurance style training? And then people never want to hear this answer, but it's always nuanced to where do you want to start with supplements? When should you even entertain the idea? And it's all of those things, and then it's personal preference. How much caffeine can you tolerate? What are you looking for in a pre-workout? And then they say, well, what should I be looking for? And I said, all right, well, at that point, you don't even need to worry about a pre-workout. If you don't know what you're looking for, then don't
Right.
even bother looking for a pre-workout.
Well, and it kind of ties into what we were talking about too, about how much there's so much information out there that sometimes people just they stress themselves and ask themselves into doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So like what I say is, I'm like I had someone ask me this morning about um, workout programs, and I'm like, just go to the gym and start working out. Like you're gonna sit there and you're gonna ask me about what workout program I recommend, and where should I go, what website should I read for this and this. Is like and during this whole time you could have already been at the gym and you
Yeah.
could have done something. Anything is better than just sitting here and asking questions, and that's what
Sure.
I run into a lot, where when someone asks me a question, we can see who asks us questions, even though like the users
Mm-hmm.
can't see.
Yeah.
So I think there's sometimes too when people think me, they're like, "Wow, Justin, that was kind of harsh." But I'm like, this person has, there's like a progression.
Yeah.
You can ask me anything you want at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but I have to see some sort of you're taking notes, you're actively doing something about this, because it's like
Yeah.
you're not doing anything. All you're doing is wasting my time, and you're wasting your time. It's like, stop asking questions. Sometimes my answer, stop asking questions, just go.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just go do it. I'm like, what about that supplement? Just buy it. Like, there's nothing unsafe about it.
Mm-hmm.
The ingredients are plain. Just go buy it. Or they're like, they obsess over which pre-workout is better, this one or this one. It's like, just buy a freaking pre-workout and go to the gym.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like the frustration there. It's like people just talk themselves into doing nothing.
Yeah, the amount of mental energy that's wasted and the stress that you induce on yourself is not worth it to try and figure out what this. It's. I mean, you're mostly getting the caffeine. The main benefit of a pre-workout is going to come from the caffeine, assuming it's a stim-based one, and then you'll get citrulline, you'll get some of the other good ergogenics in there. I'm not going to count beta-alanine and creatine in there because those you have to take those for weeks before you get really any benefit from them. So, what other when people come to you for recommendations or yourself, how much research do you like to see on an ingredient before you feel pretty comfortable with it? So we've seen, like, over the past few years, we get these one-off ingredients like Velocitol or the new Fitnox comes out, S7. All these other new ingredients pop up, and they've got 1 or 2 studies behind them. And obviously, we're not going to get thousands of more studies like we have with creatine and caffeine.
Yep.
So at what point is it a matter of anecdotal experience on your part and hearing good feedback from other people on how an ingredient works, and when you feel it's worth testing or even recommending?
Yeah, I think, and that's what a big part of why we decided to build like Supplement Snoop the way we have, with sort of like a community of other people that not only are knowledgeable, but that we know we can trust with. Like, I know right, because we have to make assumptions sometimes, or we have to just try it. Like in a lot of these cases, you get like one study and it's an industry study from someone that stands to make a lot of money off this study being successful. So It's like, we're actually going to be doing a seminar about studies and which ones, because then, right, you're like, oh, well, that study said, well, that study is not the same as this study. And then, so it's like, there's very, very little that you can really like run with anymore and go. And then, I mean, how many times do you have to watch people, experts, like these super scientific people that want to have an opinion, right? They want to say, this is it. And then they have to retract it when more science comes out later on. And I'm like, so that's why I try not to get too heavily involved in that stuff. Usually it's like the honest to God answer is, we're going to have to try this ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's get a group of us that I know their training background, and I know that I can, trust what they say. And then let's all talk about it, because to just give an opinion or to give an answer because, for whatever, just to have one, very rarely works out well when it comes to supplements. So that's why we more focus on, okay, the beginning. What are these ingredients supposed to do? What are the manufacturing processes like? And then beyond that, too many factors come into play. Like you see things, like you mentioned S7 and Fitnox, like those are two. The Fitnox study at least gave some specific details about what these people were doing, when they were doing it, the data, whereas S7, it doesn't mean S7 is useless, but it just means we can't go really by anything that they said in there. You know what I mean? It's like, just doesn't tie in. So yeah, man, it's confusing. There's really not much we can do other than use our experience and lean on each other for your experiences.
Yeah, I wish more of these newer ingredients were available just as standalones. So something like Elevate ATP or Peak ATP, Neurofactor, the Fitnox, S7, or just any of these, so you can see, because so often these new ingredients come to market, and before we even have a chance to fully vet them on their own, they're lumped in with 8 grams of citrulline malate, 1 gram of agmatine, 5 grams of glycerol, and you're wondering, well, what the hell is this ingredient doing? Is it actually doing anything, or is it just being masked by all of the synergists that are in the formula that are giving you the pumps and the enhanced performance and all of that other stuff? So I wish, and I understand there's probably not a lot of money to be made in the commodities market like that. But I just, for people in our position that get asked, what do we think of these ingredients and stuff, I wish we kind of had, because Teacrine, I've run that 1,000 different ways and times and stuff. I love the ingredient, and I've got bottles of just the bulk caps back there. And it's a great ingredient. I feel fully confident in recommending that based on my experiences with it and seeing how the research works with it. Other ingredients, I don't have as positive a reaction to that. I've tried in bulk, or I just don't have an extensive enough experience to feel super confident in saying, yeah, that works.
Yeah, and that's actually going back to the S7 conversation, right? It's a big hot topic where, the first time I tried it was like in an Alpha Lion pump product with 47 other ingredients. And I'm like, I remember talking to them. I was like, well, because they were like, well, what do you think about S7? I was like, well, I don't know, and I don't know. So they were actually one of the ones. He said, well, we're making a standalone S7.
Mm-hmm.
We'll send you some and then try it. And actually, I try it and I add it here and there, and I like it.
Yeah.
But now I never would have known that had I not been able to try it standalone, because now if I take it, but honestly, if I take it just by itself,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really notice anything.
Yeah.
But if I add it to some products that I know have a specific effect, it does seem to like enhance it a little bit.
You get a little bit of a boost with it. Okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, you're exactly right. But I would have never been able to know that had they not, sent it. If it's in there, like you said, it's in like one of their formulas and the new like King of Pumps. It's like how could you take King of Pumps and have any idea if S7 was doing anything?
Right.
Like with all the other stuff in there. So no, I tell you, it's super frustrating.
It is. It is. Have any new products come to the market that have really turned your head and you said, "Holy shit, that looks pretty awesome"? And it could be in any category. It could be a protein that has a certain specific types of inclusions. It could be a stress formula. It could be joints or anything. It doesn't. I know we tend to get stuck on pre-workouts because that's what we get asked about the most. But anything.
Yep. Right. So I would say, yeah, because I've been focusing more on, say, like a general health kind of thing. I really, really like the new Inspired Greens product. I don't know if you've seen that one yet.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but I've seen it.
Yeah, I got it right here. Right, it's got the greens in it, but it's not like a greens product, right? It's got like a gram ashwagandha, a gram of maca, it's got lion's mane, it's got ginkgo biloba, stinging. So it's got all these other sort of ingredients in there.
Anti-stress things.
Like as an overall health kind of boosting. And I was like, that's cool, because greens products in general, I don't care for.
Right.
The ones, especially because we don't really know anything about how they're being manufactured and things like that. It's like, what are we actually getting out of these? So when I see all these greens products hit the market, I was like, well, the ones I like are like that one's super cool. And then I really like the Alpha EAA from NutraBio. I think it's super, I don't want to say it's simple because it's not, but it's very straightforward in what it's trying to do, but it's just put together. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant product. It's like all those things that people with, if you're looking, we talked about how do you maybe get that energetic feeling without stims, something like that can help. It also, can help calm you. It's got the amino acids in it. I think products like that are just super cool. And I've been saying it for a long time that I feel like there's all these companies that have all this knowledge and all these resources. Some of these guys are just brilliant, but these general health sections have sort of gone to the companies, these, I don't want to, you have just so many making the general health products that just don't have that manufacturing experience and the formulation experience. Yeah. It's like a lot of cheap crap.
Oh yeah, it's garbage. It's the MLM companies and their little offshoots or whatever that is pushing these generic crappy ass formulas out.
So I see companies like, and then I talk about Morphogen a lot on my. I mean, he just makes some
dynamite formulas. They're massively dosed.
Massive. So when you see stuff like that in more of a general health area, I love to see that, because I think that's right. Pre-workouts and pumps and stuff, that only benefits a certain portion of the population, whereas something like an Inspired Greens formula, man, anybody could take that. Your grandma could take that, and she's never been to a gym, a day in her life. So that's why I like to see. Those are the ones that I'm seeing that I really encourages me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Alpha EAA, because I really like that product too. And then yesterday or Saturday, I came across another product that was touting itself as a nootropic essential amino acid formula. And there was no really nootropics in it. They had some form of ashwagandha in it, but that was it. I'm thinking, how the hell are you calling yourself a nootropics formula when there's... I mean, I don't even consider ashwagandha that much of a nootropic, more as like an anti-cortisol, anti-stress, adaptogen. I don't get much of a nootropic boost from it, just from my personal experience with it.
Yeah, it's like some of those ingredients, if they de-stress you, sort of the indirect is it improves focus,
right?
Because you're not stressed out.
Yeah.
It's like, do we call that a nootropic? No, I totally get you. Then it seems like anytime you see like an alpha GPC I know it's an expensive-ish ingredient,
Yeah.
so companies claim, so they'll, leave that out sometimes.
Yeah. Or they'll say it's too cakey and it can clump in the tub or whatever else. But it's speaking of that, do you dabble much with CDP choline and choline bitartrate to where you can kind of give your thoughts on the three different forms? Because that's another one I get is somebody was trying to tell me the other day that choline bitartrate was the best form of choline, and then I kindly sent them the article I wrote years ago discussing all the various forms of choline.
Yeah, I think usually in the CDB choline that I usually get is like the actual Cognizant
Yeah.
version, but what I've noticed for like bang for your buck, Alpha GPC is for me just on another sort of level.
Yeah.
And then choline bitartrate, it's not that it's bad, it's just you have to use it, I think, at really big dosages.
Yeah.
And then I think what's interesting too is the fact of how much of it actually might be getting used up in your system. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where it's not actually benefiting you. So I think I would put like alpha GPC for cognitive, then the Cognizant or CDB choline, and then choline bitartrate. But
Gotcha.
that's different. I would say different.
Yeah. And I think I agree with you mostly, except I'm going to flip the CDP and the alpha GPC. I tend to get more of a neurostimulatory effect from the CDP choline, and I think that's probably got to do with the cytidine molecule getting converted into uridine and boosting those neurotransmitters in the brain too, and modulating dopamine in the body. And I think there's a few studies that show that CDP choline enhances mental energy levels or ATP production as well somehow.
Yeah,
But
I
I
love
feel that I feel more stim pop from that one than I do alpha GPC, which is why I'm a little confused why I don't see more companies putting CDP choline into pre-workouts.
Yeah, and
And it's more alpha GPC, and I know they've got the power and strength studies that they show in the growth hormone, but we can say whatever about growth hormone. That's those little trivial increases aren't going to mean much in the grand scheme of things, but
for sure.
so
I will also say this, like that kind of goes back to what you were saying about using it standalone. I have a lot because of NutriBio coming out with Alpha GPC standalone. I can use that anytime I want,
right,
and I just feel it.
yeah,
Where it comes to like CDB choline, usually CDP choline, it's usually Cognizant buried in some other big nootropic formula when I
right,
use it. So, but I know the data is there for sure.
yeah.
So.
What is the highest dose of alpha GPC you've used, or what's your usual dose that you?
I usually do like the 600. I've gone up to like 1200.
Yeah,
Like the actual, like, when you look at, people were talking about the Ghost pre-workout, they're like, oh, there's 1200 milligrams. It's like, well, it's only 600 really.
yeah, it's 50%.
Because I don't know if you saw any of my stories, and I had the worst experience with that pre-workout like imaginable.
Oh, the new Ghost Legend, the Guzman version.
Dude, it gave me the worst brain fog, distracted feeling. It was probably the worst pre-workout I think I've ever used in my life.
Holy shit.
Like legitimately, like it gave me the worst feeling. So when people were like, "Oh, well, you just don't know how to use alpha GPC," that's what I'm like. Okay, that's what it is. But right there's 600 milligrams in there, but I've used 1200 from NutriBio quite a few times. But just to see if there was like any benefit towards, especially when I know guys like you and I, we probably use a lot of different nootropics, so it's like sometimes using 300 or even 150 sometimes is more beneficial than 900 just in certain ways.
Yeah.
That's a delicate balance in there.
Yeah, and the more I go down the nootropics wormhole, the more I have to be careful with my choline things. I mean, tyrosine I can dose anywhere between, and I've got a 3-pound bag of tyrosine back there that I bought about a year ago, and I can dose it anywhere between like 500 milligrams to 2 to 3 grams, and I'll be fine. Anyway, I mean, I kind of get the same bump either way. But the more I use alpha GPC or even CDP choline, because the caps of CDP choline I have are 300 milligram ones. And if I use, I don't know if it's the fact that most of my instances with alpha GPC are when it's paired with huperzine, and I wonder if that's what's leading to the overload, which it very well could be, because huperzine's got a half-life of like 20 or 22 hours or something like that.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering if that's it, to where if I just got some bulk alpha GPC and I just dosed that, 300, 600, 900 or whatever, I'd be fine. But the more I start using these nootropics that have choline sources and huperzine in it, I start to get more and more blurred, or I have to use like a fourth of a serving if I want to.
Yep. Yeah, and that was the weird thing for me too. Is I've used alpha GPC a lot, and then like that Ghost Pre doesn't have any huperzine in it because that's what you expect. If there's a massive dose of alpha GPC and then there's a massive dose of like huperzine or something like that,
Yeah.
you can see why you would feel that way. I was like, there's nothing in there that explains why this is happening. So that's why I was like, actually, yeah, I used it twice and then I gave it away. It's like, I've only bought like 2 pre-workouts in the last year. And
Yeah.
that was one of them because I was really excited when I saw the formula, and it was the worst freaking thing I've ever tried, I think. I was like,
I'm going to pull up the formula right now to see if there's anything else that could have been going on in there.
Yeah, it's not. There's nothing like outlandish in it. There's some. Well, the one ingredient they use some Carnoprime. It's like a new trademarked anti-tingle beta-alanine kind of thing, but it's got theanine and something else in there.
Celastrus paniculatus. There you go. That's your huperzine synergist right there. Celastrus functions as a mild.
Where is it?
It's part of the Carnoprime blend. Celastrus paniculatus seed functions as an acetylcholinesterase inhibitor. So that could be it right there.
Yeah, that definitely could be it. I didn't see that in there. I saw it had theanine, and it had. Yeah, dude, it was bad. It was so bad.
So I'm not sure what they're standardizing the extract for, but I know that just in studying the mechanisms of Celastrus, because I saw that in Innova Farms Enduraline, I think, in their powdered fat burner. It has it in there too, and that's what I remember talking to Chris and saying, what is this ingredient? Because I'd never heard of it before them, and so he sent me a few studies, and it's got the, anti-cholinesterase activity.
That's probably what it is.
It could
be. It's got to be, because, like I said, I've used pretty big dosages of like huperzine, things like that, and alpha GPC. I've never had anything happen like that.
Yeah. Are the NutraBio alpha GPC caps 50% yield, or it's just the full thing? Like each cap is just 300 or 150 or whatever?
I believe it's full at 300. I got it. Dude, yeah, definitely. I'll get that for sure, man.
Yeah. I'll talk to Brandon and Mark and see what's up.
Yeah, I can pop one of those, and you notice it right away.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people, if they're looking at nootropics and things like that, sometimes I'll just recommend that, especially since you have a quality manufacturing process coming from them. I'm like, if you want to learn about nootropics and sort of what they do to you, don't just dive into these massive formulas. I was like, just get something like that.
Yeah.
Some standalone alpha GPC or like you mentioned, like some tyrosine, certain things like that. Start adding that little by little, and that way you can feel what's going on. You know what I mean? You might not like it. Like I was like, you probably will like it, but you might not.
Still looking at the Ghost formula. I love Neurofactor. That's another ingredient that I get a significant, like the lights are turned on effect when I take it. Just compared to when I've taken it in pre-workouts and other nootropic formulas, where I know how I respond to all of the other ingredients, and I've tried the formulas as is, and then when the Neurofactor is added into it, the lights are switched on in a really powerful way, and it's got to be something to do with the BDNF that's getting ramped up.
Well, I mean, that's the thing too. Like when that Ghost formula came out, I looked at the formula and I was like, I have to try this.
Yeah.
Like I knew they weren't going to send me any. It's a limited run, so I bought it. I mean, I spent my money on it because I want it because it looks really, really good. And man, and I tried it twice, and it
didn't deliver.
The other thing is too is I'm not really sure if they took their time when they did it, because I got it, dude. It was a brick. It was a brick inside. I mean, I was giving someone a sample of it just the other day, and I mean, I was like chiseling the shit off there to try to get some.
Weird. And I mean, there's not that much glycerol to where it would have been super caked up or anything. I mean, it's only got 2 grams of it in there.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Weird.
But yeah, so anyway, it's just kind of goes back to that whole thing where, but then other people that have tried it that I know and trust fully
Yeah.
love it.
Interesting.
So, and some people hate it. So it's just one of those things where when people ask you what you think of it, you can think one thing, but ultimately, once it goes inside the human body, and depending on what other things, I tried to keep, I did like nothing else that day.
Yeah.
Because you just gotta, you want a clean slate before you try something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what if you had, a huge big dose of ashwagandha or something like that early in the morning? Could it throw,
Right.
a stimulant off or something like that? Or did you happen to notice, now that we're talking about that, there was a couple products that had a lot of caffeine and then like rutacarpine together, which
Yeah.
to me I was like, I don't understand. Performax actually did that, which surprised me.
Was it rutacarpine or avodiamine that was in there?
And this was like this was like 2 products ago, I think. This was one of their older formulas, and then I've seen some other companies do that where, or maybe the rutacarpine was in their pump formula, and then so then you take the pump formula and then the I can't remember, but it was Performax. That was one that surprised me because I was like,
See,
well, maybe I'm missing something.
pull up
If
their Vasomax right now. Oh, Rutapump. Okay, yeah, it's got rutacarpine in it. I think it potentiates something along the nitric oxide pathway. I think that's why.
right, and then you have it combined with the stimulant. Anyway, but I
Yeah.
did see a couple companies actually put caffeine and rutacarpine in the same one, and I was like, maybe I'm just missing something.
Yeah, I get maybe it helps to ensure there's no crash or something, or that you're not just wired if you take it late at night. And
Yeah, no idea.
that could be the only other possibility I think of is the reason for doing that. But I, if it metabolizes and gets out of your system fast, I'm wondering does that make it hit harder but shorter lasting,
Yeah, I don't
to
know.
where there's more pop on it, but then it's wiped out quicker, or is it that's yeah, it's like combining caffeine and alcohol. It's like you're taking two things that don't really
Right, we
that
don't play
jive
well
together.
together. We're not supposed to.
Well, yeah, you're
Yeah,
not
I
supposed
don't
to.
know. I see some weird stuff, and then I see some formulas where, sometimes you look at a formula and you go, okay, that person at least read some things, and then you see other ones, and you're like, man, you just picking stuff out of a catalog, and we're going to throw it in there. So it's
Yeah,
like,
there was some pre workout. I, I don't remember. I'm not going to say the company I think it is because I don't want to be wrong and insult the wrong
right,
company or something. But they had something like 3 grams of citrulline, 500 milligrams of Norvaline. I'm thinking, I've never seen anybody use more than like 200 or 300 milligrams of Norvaline. Why are you throwing 500 milligrams in there? And this was
right.
just after that other study came out on the showing that Norvaline was toxic to neurons,
Hmm.
which now obviously was just a cell culture study, and you'd have to take on the order of several grams probably of Norvaline and no other
Sure.
amino acids at the same time. But
Right.
still,
Yeah, it was kind of funny because that my response to that Norvaline study was I was like, it would be pretty foolish to dismiss it. Like you would never want to dismiss anything that suggests anything about brain health and whatever. I was like,
right?
but if Norvaline was killing brain cells, I was like, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
I'd have been dead 5 years ago. So there's some truth in there somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on theanine in pre-workouts and just the ingredient in general?
It's funny because actually I was gonna say that as we were talking about the Carno Prime, I don't like it in my. I love the ingredient and I don't like it in my pre-workouts.
Thank you. Okay, good. I've
It's
got somebody else in my corner.
I don't understand. Okay, so like NutriBio, I'll give you an example. Like NutriBio has that Caf Plus where it's caffeine plus
Yep.
theanine standalone product. That okay, I can almost understand, or I get that what they're talking. But when you put as much theanine as caffeine in a pre-workout, or just really any in general, I just don't. It's like goes back to that thing where I think you and I were talking on the last podcast, where it's like, well, why are we putting stimulants in and then trying to calm the stimulants down? It's like, why don't you just use less stimulants, or
Right.
just? It's like, oh, what is this obsession with pushing this lever and then pushing the opposing lever at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
To be, I don't know, to make the label look better, to be cute with what we're trying to do here. And usually for me, if I use theanine in a pre-workout, I don't feel anything.
Yeah,
Like
and I'm
any,
the same way, and I hate the ingredient, even if it's, say you've got 300 caffeine to 100 theanine, it still takes. And I know most of the studies are 2-to-1 theanine to caffeine, and I think there might be one study out there that used equivalent amounts of both, or just slightly more caffeine than theanine. Any ratio that I use it in, I want to say, unless maybe it's 50 milligrams, it's been in one pre-workout and I still got a decent amount of pop. But there's a specific reason I take a pre-workout prior to training. And anytime there's theanine in there, and I understand the research, it enhances focus and all this other stuff, it doesn't for me. It makes me unmotivated and tired.
Yeah, right. Theanine, it's like one of those ingredients to me where you take it to focus, but it's like sort of a byproduct of sort of calming down a little bit. Like it'd be like you see the same thing I see like ashwagandha and stuff, KSM showing up in pre-workouts. Again, it just sort of doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like, if you're gonna, why would you want to take a bunch of de-stressing ingredients before you're going to go through a stressful process that the actual stress is what you're looking for? Right. Your adaptive response to workout stress is the ultimate goal. Correct. So why are we putting anti-stressors and things like that in the pre-workouts? It just, to me, I'm like, I hope someone can explain it to me someday why we do it. But I think it's just trying to be cute.
Yeah, I think that's it. Or, you could do the old bro science of cortisol's catabolic, bro. Don't have too much cortisol to release during the workout.
Right? Yeah, no, I get it. It's just, it's so funny to me. It's bizarre. It's like, well, if we're using stimulants to push past certain thresholds and things like that, then...
Yeah, why are we going to tap the brakes midway through?
Just let it be. Let it be, man. But that just goes back to... So there's all these like theories, but then, you said the same thing. I had the same experience. If I put a bunch of theanine in with caffeine, my workout sucks. Yeah. So I know that I can tell people that because I know I've had that experience. I know you've had that experience, but other people might use it and be like, oh, I had the best focus, ever. And it's like, that's the fun part. That's the fun part of it all.
Yep. With fat burners, you said you tend to stick towards the non-stim ones. Do you buy into much of the science at all behind fat burners that it enhances lipolysis, enhances the rate of fat oxidation, and lead to faster fat loss? Or do you think fat burners really only serve a purpose in that they help maybe boost focus, lower stress, and crush your appetite?
Yeah, I think fat burners, I said it a lot, right? They don't burn fat, right? They hopefully put you in maybe a more optimal position to burn your own fat. Like whether it's enhancing your mood or like if you take GBB or whatever, you can sort of feel your body temperature a little bit. It's like that's still more of a, I think, I don't want to say placebo, but it's more like when you feel that,
it's a sensory thing.
Work out. So I think it's just, that's why I don't take fat burners. I don't really care for them, but no, I don't believe there's anything meaningful. There's things like paradoxine, talking about how it browns, the white fat and things, and that might be true, and but still at the same time you still have to do the work. And if it's not going to, the stim fat burners, the high stims do work, right? Because they give you energy and they destroy your appetite, right? Which that's why I don't like wrecking my appetite anyway. So of course, right, you're going to lose weight if you're doing more activity and you're crushing your appetite. But fat burners are not my favorite products out there. Fortunately, there's some kind of cool ones that are coming out lately, but just more ones for, like I said, mood and sort of, it's just optimizing the conditions, I would say. Obviously, they don't, to me anyway, they don't actually like burn the fat.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things. I'm surprised companies, and even some of the mainstream companies, are still using ingredients like from the Dr. Oz woodshed of broken supplements. That like Garcinia cambogia, raspberry ketones, green coffee bean, stuff like that. I thought we moved past these like 10 years ago, and I still don't understand why they're still, or what's the other one? Some of the carbohydrate inhibitors and the fat blockers and all of that stuff. I'm just seeing them. It's just, that's
right. It's like, oh, people forgot about that, so now we can bring it back.
Bring it back, right?
Or they'll bring it back at like bigger dosages, and they'll say, well, that that data was just the dosages weren't high enough. So now we're just going to use more of it, and that works. And then you have to wait for that to be debunked. Yeah, fat burners and test boosters.
Yeah.
They'll never go away,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately they're just useful for not very many people. And that's kind of part of it too, and it ties in with, I think, like some of the diet conversations we've had. It's like the people that can benefit from these are usually people that are more experienced and understand more.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the people that buy them are on the opposite end. So they have no idea if they're working, how they're supposed to be working. It's like when you see beginners do the keto diet. Like a person that has no control over their diet is now going to suddenly cut out an entire macronutrient. It's like that is not going to work.
Yeah.
Like you have no structure to your diet anyway, and now you're going to do one that's difficult even for people that are structured. It's just seems to me the people that it really does help aren't the ones that really do it. It's the people that have no business using them, buying them.
Yeah.
That just, like, if a guy says, well, I have no energy because you sit around and have a crappy diet all day long. Well, I'm going to go buy a test booster. It's like when in reality, there's nothing wrong with your test. It's not going to boost your test anyway.
Right.
It's like you just need to get off your ass.
Yeah, exactly. And all right, yeah, okay, good. You touched on a bunch of my biggest pet peeves with those two product categories. Good.
Good.
With GBB, this ingredient almost makes me want to go off on a tirade as much as like S7 did when it first came out, and how every fat burner I've seen just about now is throwing GBB in there, and I know a lot of people are saying, well, it enhances carnitine levels in the body by a bajillion percent, whatever is 3,000% or 300%. But we've got so much research showing that L-carnitine supplements, or even the supplements that do raise L-carnitine in the body, it doesn't lead to weight loss. So I got to believe they're putting it in there purely for that, to yield that sensation that it's quote unquote working because it's making you heat it up.
Exactly. It's sort of along the lines of what can you feel like.
Right.
We talked about earlier. If you put some alpha yohimbine in something, or yohimbine, a lot of people can feel that. Or if you put a lot of beta alanine, people mistake. And if you put GBB in something, you sweat.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna sweat. So that almost means more to people than if it's actually doing anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's sort of like, I don't know if it motivates you to maybe be more active or something like that. But even if it doesn't, because it's funny, we're talking about GBB, and we were talking about, okay, so how does it actually work, right? Okay, so if it goes up, then the carnitine levels go up.
Right.
But then what? Then we're stuck because we still don't have an answer on necessarily why it makes you sweat or why it does anything. We're like, well, it does this, so this happens, but then you just shrug your shoulders. It's like, it's a super popular ingredient for not knowing how it.
We don't know what the hell it does. There's not a single human study on weight loss on it at all, or they've not done a single diet protocol on it. It's been tested in babies and rats, and there might be a few healthy human adult studies, but it wasn't on weight loss. It was just on carnitine synthesis.
And it's in everything now, and we have no idea what it does.
Right. I love it. God bless the supplement industry.
Yeah, we just know it makes you sweat. So, yeah, man, it's. But
is that a sensation people enjoy? Do people like feeling sweaty when you're already going to the gym to get hot and sweaty? Do you want to be, gassed and, sweating your ass off when you're just doing like a set of curls or something and you're still getting a warm up in? I mean, that bewilders me too.
Yeah, it's almost like the, the artificial heart rate. It's like, man, if I'm going to the gym, I don't want to take a pre-workout that's jacking my heart rate up through the roof. It's like that's what I'm supposed to do when I go there.
Right.
Anyway, I just noticed, like we were talking about Chemex earlier, the pre-workout. When I was taking it, basically the only time I can take it is if I'm doing, and I don't do like arm day, but that's all I can really do because it gets my heart rate pounding so bad that I can't do anything. I can never do legs. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I can never do any sort of like compound movements that get your heart rate going anyway, because it's just, it's already going too strong anyway. So it's like, I don't know. I'm getting away. I've moved away. And I think you're in the same boat where really got into stims and then you're like, okay, that's not where I want to be anymore.
Yeah, I've tried that. I've tried all the designer ones. It's the one that really launched me over the edge was Edge of Insanity by Psycho Pharma.
I have a sample of that. It's been sitting there for about 6 months.
Yeah, and that one, I mean, they've released a few versions over the years. If yours is the one that has the isopropyl norepinephrine, I did just a half scoop of that thing, and it had felt like my heart was gonna like explode, and I don't know why, because I saw the formula. It's a prop blended formula, but the guy that runs the company sent it to me when I was looking at it, and I thought, okay, I should be able to handle this, and I don't know if the synergism of the ingredients is in there, or the dosing on the ingredients doesn't match what was sent to me, or something like that. I don't know. But Sane and I were doing a shoulder and arm workout, and 3 sets into the workout, I'm sitting on the bench trying to catch my breath, and I'd just done like a set of shoulder presses, and then I did a few sets of curls, and I was done. I felt really spaced out, trying to catch my breath, and I couldn't calm down, and that uncomfortable stimulatory experience lasted for like 4 hours, and I was just sitting there, and I'm just glazed eyes bugging out, and she said, "Are you okay?" And she's seen me try a lot of shit over the years, and
right, for sure.
nothing ever did that to me before. And so after that, I thought, all right, I'm good with just caffeine.
Yeah, because I think that's just it. That's the interesting part about when you're using supplements and you get into the whole thing. It's like you're just sort of you're testing your thresholds, and then you're like, okay, I've reached it.
Yep.
Time to go back. Because like I said, when I use that Chemex, I can use some strong pre-workouts, and but the first time I used that, I said, okay, this is it. Like, that's it. I'm not.
No.
Nothing else. The only thing past that is something I don't want to experience. So. Yeah, it's like, but I know I'm intrigued to see. We were talking about Inspired earlier, and I know like you had Chris on your show before, right?
Yeah.
They have a pre-workout coming that they let me sample a while back. I'm not sure what's in it. I don't know the formula. Right. I just used it. I just didn't ask them what was in it.
Well, yeah, it's a sketchy powder bag. Those are our favorites.
Right. Yeah. Just I'm very trusting when it comes to certain people, but that I'm curious to see what they did, because they don't use, like the exotic and DMHA and stuff. Like, they moved away from that, but whatever was in there, man,
lit you up pretty good.
That thing hammered. So, and I think it's coming out pretty soon. So I'm still looking forward to that.
I mean, White Cut blasted my socks off. I mean, I jumped in, and this was, when did I try White Cut? It was sometime in 2016. So I'd already been using pre-workouts for a considerable amount of time, and I knew my way around the ingredients and all that. I thought, okay, it's only got 300 caffeine. I'm fine with that. I had tried Mesomorph. I handled DMAA, and no problems there. I felt great on it the first time I ever tried Mesomorph. Shit, that was amazing. And then I thought, all right, well, let me put this in. And dude, I had that experience that I had kind of with Psycho Pharma, but to a lesser degree. And I realized, okay, I cannot do a full 16-gram scoop. I need to go down to like 12, and that was the sweet spot, to where it was just on the edge of being uncomfortable, but not fully going there, to where I saved that for the workouts when I had really slept like shit the night before, or I just wanted to really hammer it and get after it. But Chris knows what he's doing with his stim blends. He certainly
sure does. Yeah, and they test pretty hard. Like, I think the first time he sent me their pre-workout sample was probably like in January, and we've tested it several times like since then. And I'm like, I told him then, I was like, dude, this is it. Like, just release it. And he's like, nah, we got some. I was like, no, I'm telling you, like, you don't need to test it anymore. And he's like, no, we want to make sure it's right and everything like that. I was like, yeah, it's right. But he's a good dude. He's they definitely know what they're doing over there for sure. But I think like what you were kind of saying earlier, you just never know. And that's like when people ask me, they're like, well, what pre-workout do you use? I was like, I honestly rotate 30 of them, because it depends what you need that day. Right. Like you said, if you sleep like shit and you still want to get a good workout, I might have to use this. Or if it's like, a non-stim could get you where you want to go. So it's like that's the fun part, though.
Yeah, and now I'm in the guessing game of trying to find one that doesn't have huperzine, because just about every damn pre-workout that comes out now has somewhere between 50 and 300 micrograms of huperzine. And I'm just, again, I'm doing this number. I'm just thinking, come on, can we do something a little different? I mean, you can. There are other ingredients out there that have acetylcholinesterase inhibiting abilities, like rhodiola, like the Solastrus ingredient we were talking about earlier. But the more I find it, that they're overloading on this. It's a race between how much caffeine can I put in, how much citrulline can I put in, and how much huperzine. And it seems like these are constantly getting pushed up higher and higher and higher. And
especially too when you all of a sudden you have a pump product that goes with it that also has huperzine in it. And it's like, what the hell? What are you doing? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
So then you're doubling up, and then like you said, the half-life of it being so long. Well, what if I took a nootropic in the morning and a pre-workout at night, or vice versa? And it's like, and that had huperzine in it, and it's like, it's just a weird kind of game that you're playing, because you don't know how long it's going to stay in your system. You don't know how it's going to react, and if you are just constantly throwing, you never like I'll get questions. Someone will say, "Oh, I took this and I got a headache, or I had this reaction." And I was like, okay, it might not. There's 50 ingredients in the product. What else did you do today?
Right.
It might have been a diet thing. So it's like,
yeah, what did you take yesterday? What are you taking today? It could be, because some of the compounds are out of your body in 4 to 8 hours. Other ones like huperzine are in there for 20 plus. Right.
Yeah, and that's where like you and I talked about earlier, where it really becomes a very personalized thing. There's just not much here's the answer type things when it comes to supplements. So it really is much more, like you said, nuanced is an understatement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is your response when you hear people say supplements don't work or supplements are useless?
Well, I mean, it's obviously not true. I just think the thing about it, I always say, is you can take most supplements, and if you put them in the wrong context, right, they suddenly become, I don't want to say useless, but they just won't help.
Right.
But if you put them in the right context, and that's the game that seems to be where we struggle, is when do I need to take something like this?
Yeah.
Because then people are like, they're just taking something, they don't know why, and they're going, well, that didn't work.
Right.
Or like, a fat burner. Well, I took this fat burner, but I didn't exercise more, and I didn't change my diet.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't lose any weight. These things are useless. It's like, well, if you understand more, and I know why, like, some people are quick, like especially medical community, to sort of dismiss them because there's certain things we don't know about them that makes their job maybe more difficult sometimes. Right. But it's like, when people say that, I just think you haven't put the proper supplement in the right context.
And that answer in and of itself, I think, lacks nuance and context, like you were saying. It's just it's the easy answer to say, but it's not 100% true. I mean, there are some ingredients that we know that don't do anything. Like arginine by itself, it doesn't do shit. L-carnitine doesn't really do anything unless you take a giant bolus of carbohydrates with it. But then at the same time, you have to take a giant bolus of carbohydrates with an ingredient that's supposed to be helping you burn fat. One's canceling out the other again, because one needs low insulin levels, but you need high insulin levels to absorb it, so it doesn't make sense.
No, for sure. No, like I said, that's where it just seems to be a lack, because people don't necessarily want to. That's where the whole, like, just the irony of the whole situation. Like, a lot of people turn to supplements because they don't want to do the work. Yeah. Really, in reality, when it comes to supplements, the more work you have to do to sort of understand yourself. That's how you end up optimizing yourself, is by understanding how they play in. So it's like people turn towards them because they're lazy, when in reality, it's like, to get the most out of them, you really have to do a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Do you have much experience with sleep aids? And if so, which ingredients do you like in particular?
Yeah, I've actually struggled for a long time with sleep. I think that's one bad thing, when it comes to like Phenibut. Phenibut's really strong, and it's definitely can be addictive and things like that. But man, that ingredient works for me. If I keep it like a couple hundred milligrams, but GABA does work, because that's another thing too. So sleep aids is a perfect conversation for this because someone will go, "Can you recommend a good sleep aid?" And I'm like, "Well, what is it about your sleep that sucks?"
Yeah.
For me, it's not stress,
Mm-hmm.
but it's my brain just doesn't stop.
Yep.
Right?
Mine too.
So it's like, oh, something like GABA or
Yep.
something like similar like that. That's what it does, right? If it
Right.
slows down neurotransmissions, or some people like I don't like melatonin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like some people maybe that's what they need. So what I've found is I think because that's where it kind of gets into it too. It's like if I take like a ZMA
Mm-hmm.
type, it makes me feel horrible. Some
Huh.
people love it, and it's like, but the magnesium is usually good. But it's
Yeah.
like if I add like the zinc to it, there's
Yeah.
like a combination of it that I just
Interesting.
sleep is such a weird that really narrows down like okay it can be very individualistic
Yeah.
like depending on so many factors but sleep has been my thing where I've struggled and sort of narrowed down over the years probably more than anything else.
Mm. Have you have you dabbled much with lemon balm or valerian root or any of that stuff? I mean, I know we see them as synergists in formulas a lot, but just on their own, have you tried them much? I haven't,
No,
and that's why I'm just trying to.
no.
And I see them used a lot, and there's not a big body of evidence to suggest that they're all that effective. And the studies that do have them, they're often used together. So is it a synergist, or is one of them just dominating and the other one's just lumped in there?
Yep, and I was actually just I had an article up this morning and I just happened to be going and it was talking about the negative impacts of lemon balm on the system. And I got to go back and find that again. It was like literally like right before I was talking to you. I just happened to be reading something.
Yeah, if you
And,
find that, shoot that over my way. I'd be curious to read that.
yep, because I don't think like I've used valerian root, so I don't. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it might work for someone else. I guess. Like I said, that whole thing that kind of ties in. I don't like. A company sent me their sleep aid the other day. It had 10 milligrams, either 10 or 11 milligrams of melatonin. I was like,
That's
I'm not even.
a hefty dose.
I told him I was like, honestly, I'm not even going to use this. I was like, just keep it. I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
putting. I do not do well with melatonin at all. I was like, especially not 11 milligrams. So
Yeah, is
I'm.
it you wake up feeling groggy? Is that what it is, or yeah?
And a lot of times I don't even. It doesn't necessarily put me to sleep. It's like I'm almost in like a half sleep state.
Okay,
For
yeah.
a while. I never hit like the deep sleep, and then I just wake up like a truck hit me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I used Core Triple Z, their new one.
Mm-hmm.
I like having glycine.
Yeah.
I like having glycine. Glycine is one of my personal like favorite, I would say,
Yep.
amino acids to sort of tinker with. It's got a lot of glycine. It's got some tryptophan,
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit of it. It's got some phenibut. I really like that one. And then there's the one that I like the most is Coma, the one from Kodiak.
Yeah.
That one's interesting because it's got some KSM and things like that in there too. It's a pretty interesting ingredient. So, but sleep, man, sleep is brutal, and sleep is just so. There's so much that happens throughout the day that affects your sleep, and like I tell people all the time, I was like, they'll ask me recommend a good sleep aid, and I'm like, it might be read a book, it
Yeah.
might be, meditate a little bit, it might be you need a new pillow, So
Right.
it's like that one gets really really tough.
Yeah. I right when you said Kodiak coma, and I had this thought in my head. I knew somebody put Huperzine in a sleep supplement, and it was this one. And I
Oh,
cannot figure out why in the hell you would do that when Huperzine is an almost like a neurostimulatory kind of compound to it. I've never seen it to where it makes people tired. I mean, it's involved in learning and memory and muscle contractions and all that stuff. So why is it in a sleep aid?
right, and then you look at that formula, right? So that was what you see whenever I see a product that has some like different takes
Yeah.
on say an old idea. I'm like, well, I want to try that, see
Right.
if it works. Right? So this one's got, KSM can have that weird effect. Sometimes, you take KSM and it's energetic,
Right.
and then sometimes you take it and it's more sedative. But then, like you said, there's that, what is it, like the adrenal and like stress support?
Yeah, growth hormone potentiating blend or something is what it says.
Right. So they put some ingredients that, right, can work both ways.
Yeah.
But I take that product, man,
Yeah.
and I struggle with sleep so bad, like my entire life. That product is actually one of those supplements that has actually improved my life, like
Really?
legit. Yeah. But then you look at it, right, and you say, like, I'm not sure how this is going to play out because there's
Right.
like these weird little like nuances in it. I don't know, man. It's
Yeah, that
crazy.
might be
I
something
love
to.
that.
They've got one little bullet here that says examinations of acetylcholine in the forebrain show that acetylcholine release is increased during REM sleep compared to when awake. So maybe by increasing that, but the study they're citing isn't on huperzine. It's just on the fact that we found that there's higher levels of acetylcholine in the brain. So that is
Right.
where I
And
curious.
it could be that, hey, maybe with all the choline donors I take
Yeah.
all the time, maybe, well, and that would be, you would think that that would work opposite, but it might help as I sleep. Maybe that's why I wake up better. It's just sometimes it's, a good combination there, depending
Yeah.
on what you're doing throughout the rest of the day. It's crazy. All I know is, man, that thing works for me so well. It's unbelievable.
That's good to know. I'm gonna have to check them out and try it out or something. It's sold out currently, but I'll reach out to
Yeah,
them because I need to get them on the show too because I do like a lot of their formulas. They're
yeah,
interesting. They're a little bit different than everything.
yeah. They got to take Phenibut out. I think that's
Yep.
why. I think they're letting it run out, and then so the guy that does their formulas,
Hmm.
I know him a little bit. We talk a little bit here and there, and he showed me the next one. I think it's going to have. They're working on a CBD one, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
It's why is CBD in it?
I don't know. So I probably won't be. I don't think I'll be buying that one, but
Yeah.
I got enough stocked up with this one because it really did. It really has like actually improved my life because
Hmm.
I sleep. I can actually sleep, which is, and I don't use it. I probably use it maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and man, it is. I love it. It's like one of my favorite products, like hands down.
Very cool. Interesting. Have you used the same sleep aid on back-to-back nights and had two completely different experiences?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I can't figure out why that happens because one night I'll take something and it doesn't have phenibut in it. I mean, it's got all the normal players in it. It's got theanine, it's got KSM, it's got melatonin. And one night I will sleep like a rock. I'll be fine. And then the very next night I'll be tossing and turning the whole night. And I don't, and I'm sure it's not entirely the supplement. I'm almost positive. I mean, obviously there's other things going on in my brain
Sure.
and events of the previous day are probably muddling about and all that. That's causing me to be somewhat uh, unrestful. Um, but it's weird that you'd think that you would respond the same way two nights in a row back to back, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, when I actually, and I have it right here. This company sent me. They make like that. You ever hear that Mental Mojo nootropic?
Yeah, the name sounds familiar. Yeah.
So they made a sleep formula too. It's called Mellow Mojo,
Mm-hmm.
and it's it's pretty good. Like it looks pretty solid. Um, I took it the first night, and man, I slept just like a champ. I
Yeah.
woke up, I was like, damn, this might be my new favorite sleep formula. That's the
Yeah.
thing about the coma. Whenever I take coma, it's really never failed me.
Right.
I took this again the second night, and I didn't sleep at all. And I just was in that like where you're just like a quarter of the way asleep, where you're not awake, but
Yeah.
you so know damn well you're not sleeping.
Yeah. It's shallow sleep.
And my next day was ruined.
Yep.
It was literally I had like one of the best nights of my sleep, and then the next night I had one of the worst.
Yeah.
And now I'm going, man, I don't know if I want to try this again. So
Well, this
it's completely insane.
this will be that's a good segue into a next point. What do you do on those days? Because obviously we're both involved in the business of producing content, in to one extreme or extent or another. Um, what do you do on those days after you have a really shitty night's sleep and you just feel just tapped out completely? Do you try to force it and cram a nootropic or a pre-workout down, or do you just kind of chalk it up and say, "Hey, today's just going to be kind of lost, and I'll just shuffle it off till tomorrow. I'll deal with some menial tasks today," or what's your approach to that? Or and then I'll add one more caveat. Say you do try to use a nootropic and it shits the bed further. So
Yes, this is all part of the process for sure. That's just it, right? That's
Yeah.
trying to find what you do in each situation. Like that's so hard. It's such because I've had those experiences where it's like, okay, well, I wake up and you feel like shit.
Hmm.
If I drank some Alpha EAA, say from NutraBio,
Yeah.
and you had some caffeine, all of a sudden you're like a new man.
Yeah.
But then like the next time you try it, you just end up going back to sleep. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or it like knocks you out. It's like what I try to do, and it is the one good thing about um, doing like the content the way I do it, the Q&A stuff.
Hmm.
Just doing that usually will pull me out of a funk because when you have a really shitty night's sleep and you're lacking motivation, it's really hard to overcome that.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's like if you if you have to take a bunch of stimulants, then sometimes that backfires totally,
Yep.
or it makes you just overstimulated, and then you can't focus on what you're doing. And I
Right.
always say that too, like that. I'm pretty like level,
Yeah.
pretty calm most of the time. If you want to see me like get irrationally like angry,
Yeah.
it's when I can't focus.
Yes.
If I'm like distracted, if I'm trying to do something, dude, I get it's irrational. So that's a really like delicate balance, right? Because if you take some of this stuff, it just seems like it pushes you further down the hole.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is I'll usually go to the gym.
Hmm.
Going to the gym usually does help, but not always, man. It's like that's something that you have that a couple times a week, or at least like once a week,
Yeah.
and I don't have like the
Solution for
answer.
it. Yeah.
It's almost like you just try things all day long. But that's, like I said, been one of the cool things about having users basically create content for me is
Hmm.
usually that'll get me into the flow of work
Yeah.
and mentally, rather than me beating my head trying to find something to write about it.
Gotcha. Cool.
So it's pretty cool, man. It has really helped everything
Yeah.
as far as business goes. Just doing those Q&As.
Sweet. Well, we might need to do a tag team one. I almost thought about each of us getting up our phones and having that next to us while we were doing this podcast. We could field live questions while we're doing the podcast. We might maybe we can experiment with that next time and see what we can get.
Yeah, because as long as, especially when we do like heads up, because I do Instagram lives like 3 times a week
Yeah.
too, at least 3 times a week, and then Facebook live sometimes also, where you get a lot of interaction. I
Yeah.
do. I get tons of questions and stuff like that on there. So people just like to ask questions, man. It's fun.
Spreading the knowledge. Awesome. Well then, what's up in the next month or two for supplements, Nuke?
Right. So actually, I was in Boston for a few days with Brady, and we
Right.
were, we have a lot of, ideas, but at the same time, we were really having a really serious discussion about, what we do, what skills we both bring to the table,
Mhm.
and how we can expand. Because it feels like sometimes, like when, especially in the supplement industry, we keep shrinking the world down a little bit,
Yeah.
and it sort of devolves into these small little, like this subculture where we
Course.
argue about ingredients and we do that, and it's like we just keep trying to make sure we push back against that. So we have some plans to use more on a consulting basis,
Mhm.
like we talked about, like more personalized, rather than trying to have a million customers. It's like, let's focus on ones that really need our help,
Yeah.
ones that we can really help.
Right.
He's super successful, but he's also has a ton of integrity, and he. So we want to. Those are like things we want to use. Like we have knowledge, but we also have the desire to help people that want to be helped.
Hmm.
So we're just going to streamline, I think, a lot of our processes,
Gotcha.
use our time more wisely, and we're going to be adding some different tiers to like
Mhm.
supplement subscriptions.
Cool.
We're always going to have levels for people that want the app and the group.
Yeah.
And that's great. But we're also going to be expanding out more into
Like a premium
business.
membership or something.
Yeah, like and just for people that are looking, say, for business on the business end, because
Yeah.
there's so much more to it than just the ingredients. So
Right.
we're gonna be branching out a little bit and sort of maybe pushing out away from the supplement, the hardcore supplement part of the industry a little
Hmm.
bit. So we've got a lot of plans, that we're going to be doing pretty soon. We're going to we'll be at the Olympia in September. We're going to go, not have a booth or anything, but we'll be there, and we're going to the block party at Natural Body Inc.
Yeah.
We're going there in a few weeks. So we got a lot of networking stuff, but
Mhm.
we're really focusing more on how we can help more
Consumers.
people.
Are you going to
Really.
be at Supply Side in
No,
October in Vegas?
probably not. I think
Okay.
because September will probably be our trip out there.
Gotcha. Because that's what I've been to Olympia the past couple of years, and this year I was going to do Supply Side for the first time, so I was going to see.
Well, it kind of works out good because it's our anniversary, our wife and I, and so we're going to go out there for like a week
Yeah.
and maybe just hit up the expo for like one day or something like
Cool.
that and just meet some people. But a lot of, I feel like I see a lot of businesses, right? They're just kind of interested in sort of the branding aspect and the networking and things like that,
Right.
which is great. But Preeti and I, where we align is we just want to provide just a ton of value for people.
Yeah.
And with our different skill sets, we really want to focus more on what we can sort of give back to people rather than
Hmm.
pop sockets and shakers and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's like that stuff is just,
Right.
it's nice and everything like that. But
Yep.
we feel like we can give a lot more, especially when you have a lot of entrepreneurs and supplement company owners and young
Mhm.
people that want to get in. And you know how confusing this industry is when it comes to formulas, but then manufacturing processes. So we
Correct.
really think that we can use our experience to really help people. So really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Sweet, man. Well, then, thank you for jamming with me on the podcast again. I always love our sessions. They always last a good long time and are full of
Right.
interesting topics of conversation. So, thanks as always, buddy.
Yeah, for sure, man. And then, like I said, let me know when you want to do it again, and then maybe we'll do a heads up, and maybe people can do a little interactive session.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, brother. Good
Cool.
talking as always.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
All right, see you, bud.
Bye.